AEFL, American Elite Fantasy League.
My name's Trevor Freimeyer. Team name, Marshall Matters.
Justin Yates, team captain, Green Eggs and Cane.
Brandon Ultimus, the Paul Baker Dream Team.
Ethan Barr, team captain, former Child Stars.
Captain Tanner Guthrie, team Old Smuggler.
Tyler Boner, and I am the Raging Boners.
My name is
Ben Parker.
and I'm putting together a special team, and I need me 8 soldiers. 8 Jewish American soldiers. Once we're in enemy territory, as a bushwhacking guerrilla army, we're going to be doing one thing and one thing only.
Win football games.
The Sankey Legs, Adam Edwards.
Will Wetzel, helmet to helmet contact.
Jared Fichter, LFPB.
Chase Kraft, my Cobb, and your Bush, and your host, and our weekly review starts now. And what's up, fellas? Welcome to Season 3, Week 4 of the AFL, and once again, this league delivers with some close games, some injuries, and a big trade to end the week. Now, going into the scores, I was lucky enough to pick up the win there versus Yates, 117.8 to 98.4. Paul Baker's Dream Team gets the biggest gift of all this season, allowing Trevor on his birthday to pick up his first win of the season, 113.8 to 72.3. Grand Slam Breakfast Squad gets the win there over the Sankey Legs, 145.3 to 95.5. Liquor in the front, poker in the back, still undefeated, baby. Taking down former Child Stars there, 110.8 to 106.9. And then out of the two dick joke teams, we got the Raging Boners with another hard yet once again as they come back and get the victory there, going to 4-1 over helmet-to-helmet contact to 128.5 to 85.9. And then you have Tanner falling in a close one where he got hit by a lot of injuries against Inglorious Bastards, 132.1 to 119.8. Now, going into the games, I was lucky enough that Andre Ellington, finally, the trade works out in my favor. He gets his first 2 TDs of the year. And while Yates flounders in the losers end of things with Reggie Bush and Benjamin, and Donald, the tight end with the Giants, Eli Manning's security blanket on the year, nice single reception, where the week before he had 3 touchdowns. But in Yates' end, I mean, he's got the guy there in Baltimore in Justin Forsett. While going forward on my end, I'm a little bit worried, like, who do I start? Reggie Wayne, T.Y. Hilton, Ben Tate, Ahmad Bradshaw. Maybe my Colts bias is showing through a little bit. I don't know. It's something I need to get over and, I don't know, get some therapy for. Now looking into B's and Trevor's game, Brandon, man, god dang. I mean, Trevor, why don't you just shake Brandon's hand for allowing you to win? Or better yet, why don't you send Peyton Manning and Antonio Gates a thank you card for all 6 touchdowns they contributed on your day? While Brandon, on the other hand, Steve Smith Sr., Martellus Bennett, and then Roddy White all had quiet games. Didn't help that Eric Decker's been hurt lately. But in the end, Breeze had a good game, Frank Gore had a good game, and Antonio Brown, your 3 consistent players, all had good games. And they escaped the week without injury. Now, on Trevor's side, like I said, Peyton Manning had 4 touchdowns. Antonio Gates had 2. So, Trevor, happy birthday to you for picking up your first win of the year. It's probably going to be your last one, so enjoy it while you can. Now, going into Adam and Dustin's game. Adam had a big game out of Matt Forte. A little surprised there to see Alshon Jeffries on the bench. While, Keenan Allen and Hawkins there had a quiet game. I thought maybe Jeffries might get the start over at least one of those guys. I would think more Keenan Allen than anything. But, I mean, you still came in a close game there, even with who you started going against Dustin. While Dustin, Lacey looks to be picking things up. And then I think maybe the big reason why you even won and beat Adam to begin with is you yourself had 4 touchdowns from Denver Broncos players. You had both Thomases, each scoring 2 points, while Demarius actually set some Broncos records. So that's a little surprising to me. But, going forward, looks like you're in good shape. Now getting into Barr and Jared's teams, who's not in good shape is Barr with the injury to Monte Ball. We'll see how he bounces back from that. He's going to be out for a few weeks. Not to mention you had 3 touchdowns called back for Percy Harvin, and you only lose by 4 points. If he just gets one of those touchdowns, you win this week. And then you look at Cordell Patterson, who was all the rage going into this year, and you know what? He fucking sucks. He's like Reggie Bush. You never know what you're going to get. Surprised to still see him in your lineup. But hey, good news. Dez Bryant is still getting all his points. And Gronk is finally coming back strong. You got to like that. I mean, about time he finally shows up. Seems to be getting into the rhythm of things. We're on Jared's end, man, undefeated. I plan on going back. I want to see the best start we've ever had in this fantasy league because you're getting pretty damn close to it with being 5-0. And I tell you what, one of the most silent people that no one has really talked about is the wide receiver in St. Louis, Quick there. He had 2 touchdowns this week, and I know all previous weeks he's had a ton of receptions, ton of yards, and some other touchdowns. And then not to go into it a little bit further here, but Richardson's having a good year. So, I mean, you took 2 risky picks there in Richardson and Quick, and it's turning out to be working pretty well for you as you're 5-0, not to mention the Pittsburgh defense gets you 16 points. But in the end, something to think about, you had Golden Tate as well on the bench. I mean, considering Calvin Johnson was 100%, you got to know they're going his way. It's something to think about for next week because Calvin's probably not going to be playing this week. He may not be playing next week, so keep that in mind going forward. Now, looking into Tyler and Will's game. Tyler, you had Vincent Jackson show up for the first time, have his biggest points of the year. Olsen's having a career year. Check the numbers. I wouldn't lie to you guys. Maybe a little bit because I find it fun. But, I mean, it's the internet. I mean, you're going to believe whatever I say, right? Now, also, you had Emmanuel Sanders is the man. I think he's even putting up better numbers than what Eric Decker did. This might be a lie. I don't know. We'll check later. But, I mean, it's got to be pretty damn close. He's been phenomenal all year. And looking at Wills, the running back there in Minnesota struggled this game. Might have been due to the weather and on the road, considering where he was at home the week before where he put up the big points. Not to mention, you only had 5 receptions out of Cruz, Paul, and Crabtree. That's got to be of concern. But your Phillies defense, the Philly defense, which if you look at stat-wise is one of the worst defenses in the league, but they still get you 18 points because of the turnover, and I think they blocked that punt there for a touchdown. And Arian Foster on your bench, 30-some points. Might have made the difference there, but it still would have been close. I think Tyler still would have got you, but something to think about going forward because Arian Foster looks like he's back. But going into next week, they're facing a Colts defense who usually is really piss poor against the run, but surprise, surprise, check the stats. They were in the top 15 last time I checked, last week. So, might be an interesting start for this week. But looking into Tanner and Ben's game, I know with us talking, we thought Tanner was definitely out of it with Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch, and the Seattle D to play on the road against Washington. But, man, Russell Wilson is just having a phenomenal fantasy year, by far his best he's ever had in his career. I mean, he damn well near outrushed everyone on the field that game. He might have. I don't know. But, I mean, I know within the first half he had well over 50 yards. I mean, he rushed for at least 1 TD and threw for another 2. And then you have Marshawn Lynch, who doesn't play that first series. You think he might be out with back spasms. And he just comes out and goes beast mode as always. Probably, I mean, someone forgot to give him his skills before the game. I don't fucking know. And then, but on sour note for Tammy, he had Graham get hurt and Calvin Johnson, which it doesn't matter with Johnson anymore because he's now traded. But the Graham injury is definitely a hit. I haven't heard how long he's out, but something to think about going forward and pay attention to. Be curious to know if he actually plays this week. And then going into Ben's side of things, I was actually impressed. Rodgers only threw for 166 yards and had 3 TDs. And of those 160-some yards, one play was for 66 yards to Jordy Nelson. So I found that interesting how he had 3 TDs with only that many yards. But, hey, I mean, TDs are TDs. Rather have that than the yards. I mean, they equal more points. So you might as well, cherish the TDs while you get them. And then you also have DeMarco Murray leading the NFL in rushing. He's had 5 straight games over 100 yards and a few touchdowns. You got to love that, Ben. You just got to pray that you don't have what happened to you last year where your whole starting roster just completely got decimated by injuries. But, I mean, so far so good. Not to mention you have Le'Veon Bell as your second running back. I mean, your running backs are powerhouses. I mean, I wonder if actually those 2 running backs are in the top 5. But then you also have Macklin, who's having a huge year in Philly with Deshaun Jackson and Washington. And now that Wes Welker's back, that's getting you at least over 10 points a game. So you're looking really good going into the rest of the year. But for now, fellas, let's get into this week's Hard Hit of the Week. So this hard hit of the week was a close one between Barr and Tanner. Tanner had the 2 injuries there to Jimmy Graham and Calvin Johnson, which then caused him to trade Calvin Johnson to Yates today. Not to mention, gosh, I mean, you might have had the win there. Seattle's defense creates some turnovers. So, I mean, it's a close call there considering you've lost now two weeks in a row and then you get hit big time with the injury bug. But I think Barr is well deserving this week, considering the fact that I think he's possibly lost 2 in a row now. And then he loses Monty Ball to an injury. And who knows how many carries he gets once he comes back if Ronnie Hillman still is the limelight there in Denver. And then not to mention, Barr, you might have won this week if it wasn't for Percy Harvin's 3 touchdowns getting called back. Well, granted, I think 2 of those were back-to-back plays with each of them drawing a penalty. But regardless, Barr, I think you get the win there if it wasn't for those penalties and they allow Percy Harvin to get just one of those touchdowns in the yards on one of those touchdowns as well. You would have picked up the win and went to 4-2, I think. Yeah, something like that. Fuck, I don't know. But for this week, Barr, anyways, you're the lucky bastard that gets this week's hard hit of the week. And now let's get right into the schedule for this week. Alright, looking into week 6, it looks like I will be taking on the 2-3 Inglorious Bastards with Ben there getting the projected win 152 to 110. The 1-4 Marshall Matters takes on the 2-3 Sankey Legs with the Sankey Legs there getting the projected win 131 to 116. Helmet-to-helmet contact takes on Former Child Stars with Barr there getting the projected win. 3-2 Paul Baker's Dream Team takes on the 2-3 Grand Slam Breakfast Squad with the Breakfast Squad there getting the projected win 129 to 110. Old Smuggler takes on the 1-4 Green Eggs and Cam with Old Smuggler there at 2-3. As the projected total is a big one there with Yates over Tanner 142 to 96. And then the undefeated 5-0 team, Liquor in the Front, Poker in the Back, takes on the 4-1 Raging Boners. This looks like to be the matchup of the week, as the projected total has Speaker winning 150 to 140, and that is our week 6 matchups. Alright, fellas, so we got some favorable matchups. It's going to get a little interesting now that we're starting to think about playoffs.
What's that?
Yeah, Coach, I said playoffs. I don't see why it's a big deal. It's week 6, and Trevor's only won 1 game.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs?
Yeah, I get it. It's the playoffs. I mean, yeah, it's 6 weeks away. We need to start thinking about it. But, fellas, I mean, some of us are right there in the standings. Well, Trevor, you just suck. 1-4, dude. But, hey, then again, you can always make a comeback and talk about how great it was. Or at the very least, you can just blame it on Jimmy Graham like you always do. But for fellas, I will talk to you again next week. But for now, fuck you.
Alley Cat Productions.